Okay, I shall start Mangalacharan prayer.
Yes.
अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांशं श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांशाम्। हे कृष्ण करुणसिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तु ते। तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण।
Hey Krishna, thank you. That was a nice start. We'll just do a bit of Kirtan and then dive into the Krishna book.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girvaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So with your permission, I will go into the Krishna book reading. So as we always mention before we start, the beautiful sloka from Bhagavad Gita, because if we are listening to Krishna Katha, which is taken from Bhagavatam, and Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam, evam yoviti tatvataha, chakta deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjan. One who is listening to Krishna Katha towards the end of their life, one who understands Krishna's leelas, Krishna's appearance, Krishna's divine leelas, towards the end of the life, they will not come back here, but they will go to the supreme planet of Krishna, which is Krishna Loka. So it is so very purifying and very auspicious to listen to Krishna Katha. On that note, we will start with the invocation of Sri Krishna Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So in this chapter, we started off with this chapter, 5 queens married by Krishna. So as we all know, Krishna is called as Atmaram. But again, many times when Krishna came on the planet, there were many divine leelas that happened when Krishna was there. When Krishna came in the avatar of our Lord Ram, he showed himself as Maryada Purushottama, how to be a good son, how to be a good husband, and more than displaying his opulences as the Supreme Lord, Lord Ramachandra set the example of how household should be and how we had to practice our dharma. But when it comes to the Supreme Lord Krishna, it is Paripurna Avatar, which means completely Krishna displayed his complete opulence. That's why toward the Bhagavad Gita, we call Krishna as Bhagavan. Bhaga means opulences. One is one who has all these opulences, 6 opulences. And Krishna displayed that in full form and showing unlimited strength, unlimited beauty, unlimited renunciation and everything. So in this chapter starts as 5 queens married by Krishna. We've seen how Krishna actually initially sends Sakrura to Hastinapur to find out how the Pandavas are doing. And then we get to know, we covered last week that, the Pandavas were actually, there was a rumor that the Pandavas were actually, according to the plan of the Kauravas, they were put in a house and burned to fire, and they were thinking like the Pandavas may be dead, but later it was found that Pandavas appeared in the marriage ceremony of Draupadi, which was concluded that the Pandavas were very much alive and did not die in the fire accident. And then Krishna and Balaram, they actually go to Hastinapur, even though they're uninvited, because Krishna always is favorable towards his devotees, and because they were on the right side of Dharma, so he gets visits to Pandavas and kind of like 6. And very interestingly, through the Krishna Katha, we'll get to know why Krishna is called with different names. For example, Krishna is called as Mukunda because as soon as one comes in touch with Krishna or sees him in full consciousness, one immediately becomes freed from all material anxieties. So just like when you put a finger near the fire, you get burned. Similarly, when you get by the touch of Krishna, all our material anxieties get burned, and we'll be freed from all that. And not only that, we land up into being spiritual bliss. And this is what actually is the live experience of all the Pandavas as well. But interestingly, Krishna, when we came in this form, he tried to follow all the Vedic culture. For example, because Bhishma and Bhima and Yudhishthira were elder with them, so he touched their feet. And again, at the same time, Nakula and Sahadeva, they touched the lotus feet of Krishna. So he was like literally like a cousin out there and following all the Vedic rituals that had to be maintained at that point of time. And then he kind of like even the Draupadi comes and offers sort of obeisances to him. And then Lord Krishna speaks to Kunti Devi. And this is another beautiful thing, the highlight of Bhagavatam. Some of the few topics are very, very highlighted in Bhagavatam, especially about Ajamel and about the Kunti Devi prayers. Everybody asks for problems to be, praise to Krishna to get them, relieve them of the problems. But here is Kunti Devi. She was always requesting, she was always praying that there were more problems for her so that she can always remember Krishna. And not only that, she always remembers Krishna because Krishna was always there protecting the Pandavas and Kunti Devi at all point of time. So they had that immense faith. Avasya Rakshabe Krishna Viswasa Palana, that Krishna is always going to be protected. And a lot of people say, why do we read Krishna Katha? This is the thing. When we read Krishna Katha, we get through the eyes of Pandavas that how Krishna is always protecting the Pandavas. Kaunteya Priti Janhi Name Bhakta Pranishyati. Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita, my devotee will never be vanquished. He's always protecting them. Similarly, Prahalad Maharaj, he had immense faith in Vishnu, that no matter how much he was thrown from a hill, he was thrown into the fire, they got elephants to stamp on him, but still he had this faith. Yes, Lord Vishnu is always going to protect me. And Vishnu did that. When we have so much of faith, Krishna has no other option but to just protect his devotees. So here is Kunti Devi, who's always like embracing Krishna, and she knows that Krishna has done so much for them and always protecting them. And not only that, we can see that Kunti Devi's and Krishna, one of the beautiful thing about Krishna is that how Krishna is so personal with all his devotees. When the people of Vrindavan were missing him, he literally writes a letter and sends it through Akrura, through Uddhava. So similarly, at any point of time, and then he sends Akrura to Hastinapur to find out how the Pandavas are doing. So Krishna as the Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. Samoham sarva bhuteshu namirdeshi stinapriya. Krishna says, I'm equal to everyone. I'm not partial to anyone. I'm equal to anyone, everyone. But at the same time, who's inclined more towards his devotee, because the devotees are always dependent on Krishna. They're always loving Krishna. They always are ready to face anything because they know Krishna is on their side, is always protecting them. So Kunti Devi is saying even ordinary people who are depending on Krishna, they are so protected. And what to speak of the Pandavas who are personally related to Krishna. So we can see that even though the Pandavas were actually, they tried to, the Kauravas tried to kill them in a fire accident, but still they were rescued because Krishna was always there and protecting them at that point of time. And so as I said, you are equal to everyone. That's what Kunti Devi is saying. Whatever Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Kunti Devi is saying. He says, I'm not partial to anyone. This is what Kunti is saying. You are equal to everyone. And everybody can take protection. And as such, that they can't even forget Krishna even for a moment. Because Krishna is sitting in everyone's heart. And the devotees always remember Krishna. And that is why it is called as Ye Yatamam Prapadyante Tam Stataiva Bhajamiham, where Krishna says, according to how much of faith that you have, I also reciprocate accordingly. And it's a nice analogy that has been given, just like a mother. Mother takes care of all of her children, but she takes special care on a son who's totally dependent on her, who's always crying for her and things like that. So Yudhishthira also is so overwhelmed by the love and devotion that Krishna is showing towards the Pandavas, where he says, my dear Krishna, I do not know what kind of pious activities that we've done in a previous life. You're so kind and gracious to what did we do in our previous life? We always have this expression, isn't it? When somebody goes out of the way and tries to help us and protect us and support us, we have that expression, isn't it? Prabhu, what did I do that you are showing so much of love towards me? Sometimes when we meet some really lovely devotees, they shower so much of love that we feel like, what did I do to deserve this kind of a love that the devotee is showing, right? So like that. So here, this is just overwhelmed. How is it that you love us so much? And you do not find it easy to obtain such grace, nor can that done. Yeah. So, and also Yudhishthira is requesting Krishna to stay in Hastinapur for a few months, which of course Krishna kindly agreed. And then after that, we also covered about how Krishna was staying with the Pandavas. And then here in this case, we left it off over here. So Krishna, along with Arjuna, goes into the forest for a hunting. And Krishna is very keen to see, like, okay, how is Arjuna preparing for the battlefield? Because Krishna is someone who knows the past, who knows the present, and he knows the future. Vedaham samatitani vartamani cha Arjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mamtu vetana kashana. Krishna says, I know everything that has happened in the past, everything that's currently happening, and everything that's going to happen in future. But me, no one knows. So here Krishna knows that Arjuna is going to be there in future in the battlefield. And so Krishna wants to see how Arjuna is being prepared. And so he joins with Arjuna when he goes to the forest with his bows and arrows. And then, of course, they're dressed up fully. And then he is accompanied on to see how he is practicing in the future. And then, as we see, according to the Vedic rituals, Arjuna goes and kills many tigers, boars, bisons. And can you imagine the kind of now? A lot of people, they're based on the caste system. They just consider themselves, we are Kshatriyas, we are this, we are Brahmins, and all these things. But the actual Vedic culture, was practiced during that time. That means when you say Kshatriya, like how a Kshatriya is someone who's so brave, you can go into the forest and even fight with the tigers and boars. And nowadays, if somebody says, I'm a Kshatriya, we should just ask them, like, do you have these qualities? Because Krishna mentions in Bhagavad Gita, whether you're a Brahmin or a Kshatriya, it's based on certain qualities, gunas. Chaturvanyam maya system gunakarma vibhagashaha, Krishna says. According to your gunas, you are classified according to Kshatriyas and all that. So you can see here that he went, and Arjuna was so fearless and he was so brave a Kshatriya that he went and killed even the tigers. And some of the dead animals that were fit for sacrifice were carried by the servant and sent to King Yudhishthira. Now, it's very interesting because in those days, the fire sacrifice was such a thing. It was very scientific, actually. They would sacrifice an animal and out come a man or something like that. There was something which very, very deep. And they say that those fire sacrifices, which is done during the Treta Yuga, right? Because every yuga had a separate dharma. Satya Yuga, the Yuga Dharma was meditation. Similarly, Treta Yuga, the Yuga Dharma was fire sacrifices. But you can't do such kind of fire sacrifices in today's Kali Yuga because it's impossible to do with so much of it was very authentic and it was according to the Vedic rituals. And how many people know about the Vedic rituals in these days? And some of the dead animals which were fit for sacrifice, they're given to Yudhishthira, and the tigers and rhinoceros, which are creating a lot of disturbance in the forest, they were killed. And then now we can see another Leela unfolding because, as we said, Janma Karma Cha Divyam. Everything of Krishna is Divyam. So all these, whenever Krishna is, because this chapter itself is Krishna is marrying 5 wives, but again we have to understand that Krishna is called actually Atma Rama. That means he's always self-satisfied. He doesn't need anything. In the spiritual world, he is being served by thousands of goddesses of fortune. But when he comes to this world, this material world, he kind of like some of these does some of these leelas, and he's reciprocating. Every time he's reciprocating. We seen earlier when Rukmini heard about Krishna from Narada Muni, and she sent a letter saying that I want to marry only you, otherwise I'm not going to marry anyone else also. And then Krishna reciprocated. And many times people miss the point. Krishna is enjoying with the gopis. Oh, Krishna went and had so many wives, but they don't understand that Krishna is called Atmarama. He's only reciprocating to his devotees who are always thing. And here we see another Leela that's unfolding. So Arjuna is very tired and he was feeling thirsty after the hunting, and then he goes to the banks of the Yamuna river. And then when they reach the bank of the Yamuna, and they washed their hands and all these things, and when they were resting and drinking, they saw a beautiful girl of a marriageable age walking along the banks of the Yamuna. And Krishna tells Arjuna, go and find out who's this person with a beautiful smile. She's got a very attractive and very nice. So now Arjuna goes on behalf of Krishna, and then he's inquiring, my dear girl, who are you? So beautiful. May I ask who you are? And we are surprised that you're just loitering here, just walking around on the banks of Yamuna. What is it? I think maybe you're searching for a suitable husband. If you don't mind, can you just tell so that we can satisfy you? And this girl is actually a daughter of the sun god, and she's Yamuna personified. So she is actually like behind every of these devatas, there is a deity behind that, right? Behind the sun, there is a deity called Surya, the sun god. Similarly, behind behind the heaven, they got Indra, and then like similarly here, the Yamuna river is actually personified by this person called Yamuna. She's Yamuna personified, and she's the daughter of the sun god. And she was doing penances and all these things to have Lord Vishnu as her husband. Can you imagine in those days how much even the Gopikas wanted Krishna to be their husband? Now we can see that Rukmini wanted to be an husband. Why? Because Krishna is all attractive. And the very name of Krishna is Krish, means all attractive, and Na is like full of bliss. And Krishna is all attractive, he's beautiful, at the same time very someone who's full of bliss. And then so we can see that Arjuna is trying to ask this girl Yamuna, what exactly is going on? Who are you, kind of thing. And then she says that she's the daughter of the sun god, and she's performing penances, and she wants to marry, and she knows that Arjuna is Krishna's friend, and it's a nice thing, isn't it? Because when you want somebody, you try to approach their friend. So that through the friend, you try to meet the person, right? In college days, you see many guys do that. That if they would like some girl, they'll go and make friends with the girl's friend. So similarly here, Yamuna knows that Arjuna is a friend of Krishna. So he's saying, quote unquote, my dear sir, Arjuna, I know that you are the hero Arjuna. So I may further say that I shall not accept anyone as my husband besides Lord Vishnu, because he is the only protector of all living entities and the bestower of liberation for all the conditioned souls. I shall be thankful to you if you pray to Lord Vishnu to be pleased for me. The girl Yamuna knew very well that Arjuna was a great devotee of Krishna, and if that he would pray, then Krishna would never deny his faith. So everybody knows that Arjuna is very dear to Krishna, and look at that. And this is the thing, right? People don't understand the reason why Krishna marries all the Gopika, whether marries the princess or anyone. It's because they have made up their mind. Even in fact, if you remember earlier, Rukmini tells that if I marry, I'll marry only Krishna. Otherwise, I'm going to do all the penances, and maybe even in my next life, I'll try to get, but I will not marry anyone else other than Krishna. So all of these people, all of these women, whether Yamuna, whether Rukmini, they were so determined to have only Krishna as their husband. because Krishna was so attractive that they cannot think of even and he's the protector of all the living entities, right? Which is what I was saying, like in Krishna Katha, we get to know that people in those days where they were so knowledgeable about Krishna, they knew that Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe. Bhoktaram yajanatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam jnatamam shantim. They all knew that Krishna is the supreme Lord of the universe. He is the he's the lord of all the demigods and of all the planets and everything. So obviously everybody gets attracted to power, isn't it? But the beauty thing about Krishna is why Krishna is so attractive is some people may have power, they may not be beautiful. Some people may be beautiful, they may not have money. But here is Krishna. Krishna got everything, unlimited beauty and unlimited wealth and unlimited everything, strength. So here she goes on to say, to approach Krishna directly may be futile, but to approach Krishna through the devotees is sure to be successful, right? So we all know that I was just thinking about it, like we have this like which is the feet of the Lord, and here we have a Tulsi, and the very idea of why we put is because we know that we can always approach Krishna through the devotee like Tulsi. So that is the mood of the Vaishnava, that we always approach Krishna through the devotee, and that way they will be more successful because Krishna, uh, he loves his devotees so much. He's called as Bhakta Vatsala. He's someone who cares about his devotees. So anybody who comes along with his devotees, he will never say no to them. So he goes on to say, my name is Kalindi, and I live within the waters of Yamuna. My father was kind enough to construct a special house. So a father constructed a special house in the water, within the water of Yamuna. And I have vowed to remain in the water as long as I cannot find Lord Krishna. Arjuna duly carried the message of the girl Kalindi to Krishna, and although Krishna as a super soul knew everything, without further discussion, Krishna immediately accepted Kalindi and asked her to sit on the chariot. So Krishna, the beautiful thing which I love about Krishna is there's Krishna's every leela is full of action, full of action. If people go for nowadays, people go for apps like Netflix and Amazon because they want to see nice action-packed drama and all that thing. But for a devotee, there's nothing like Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha is full of nectar, it's full of devotion, and it's full of action. In every way, Krishna is kind of like constantly showing that I am always reciprocating your feelings. Ananyas chintayanto ma yejana paryupashite tesham nityabhyuktanam yogashemam vahamyaham. If you are in love with Krishna, if you are meditating on Krishna, if you are doing bhakti towards Krishna, Krishna says, I also reciprocate, and your yogashemam way, I will take care. So you can see that here, because she's got so much of love for Krishna, and she's even though his father has constructed a place for her within the water, and she was remaining in water, and she didn't want to get out of the water unless she cannot find Krishna in her life. So you can see that. But Krishna is so kind. When Arjuna passed on this message to Krishna, saying that this person Kalindi, who's actually Yamuna personified, she's made up her mind and she really wants to marry only you and nobody else, then Krishna accepted it. And Krishna, he knows he is the super soul who's sitting in everyone's heart. He knows the mood of every of his devotee, and he's reciprocating. Ye yatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajam. So Krishna immediately accepts, takes Kalindi and sits and asks us to return the chariot. And if you remember, if you browse a bit of memory back, just a few chapters back, and then we seen Krishna did the same for Rukmini as well, right? Rukmini was the next day was supposed to get married to Shishupal, and she goes to the temple. And on the way back, when all the princes, in front of all the princes out there, Krishna comes on the chariot and then asks Rukmini to get on the chariot, gets her on the chariot, and then in front of everyone, he takes off. What can be more action packed than Krishna Bhagwan's Leelas, right? There's like full of action and full of nectar. And so they all approach Lord Krishna. And then, so Krishna is actually basically taken out of the chariot, and they approach King Yudhishthira because Krishna, as you know, Yudhishthira has requested Krishna to stay in Hastinapur for a few more months, and Krishna is right now in Hastinapur on the invitation of Yudhishthira. He wanted him to stay over there. So now, and Yudhishthira also, so now he's also asked Krishna to construct a house. And Krishna, as you know, anything for Krishna during the Krishna Leela, we know that he kind of like he gets his architect Vishwakarma to construct anything that he needs on this material planet. And it's very interesting to know, right? I mean, if you all remember, or if you ever gone to Vrindavan, you will find that over there, even in the Nanda Bhavan, you can find that some of the pillars, the people, the guides out there, they will tell us that, all these pillars in Nanda Bhavan, Krishna's home, where Devaki used to, and they will show all those pillars where Devaki was, she was making butter for Krishna and all that. They will show and tell us that this is the place where Krishna, Vishwakarma came and built all these pillars. Can you believe it? So all this, so everything is, in fact, the city of Dwarka, which is there inside the sea, which is all built by the by the Vishwakarma. So whenever Krishna is on the planet, and whenever he needs something like this, he orders Vishwakarma and then he gets it. So we can see that when the city was constructed by Vishwakarma, Krishna immediately calls for Vishwakarma and made him construct a wonderful city according to the desire. So you see how Krishna is so kind, right? He loves his Pandavas so much that when they requested him, I want a city, like people may ask you for a house, but here Pandavas are asking, construct a city, and he constructs a city. And same way, like there was a lot of commentary that's going on city of Dwarka, which is under the water in Gujarat. They were saying, like, some of the divers who went, the archaeologists, they were saying when they went in and explored the city of Dwarka under the water, they were saying like how well planned the whole city was, built, at that point when Krishna was there, because everything was, because this is by the grace of Krishna, right? Krishna orders Vishwakarma, everything has to be meticulously done. So when this city was constructed, Yudhishthira requested Krishna to stay along with them for some more time, to give him his association. And then again, Krishna has accepted that as well. So the very important thing to understand is, like, because the Pandavas on the right side of Dharma, and because in spite of they being treated so unfairly by the Kauravas, Krishna was there with the Pandavas because they were on the right side of Dharma. They were always following the Dharmic Vedic culture and the Dharma. And that's the reason why he was on the side. And that makes me think, like, if you take the life of Bhishma was a great warrior, and he had everything. He had one of the great personalities, one of the greatest Mahajans. But see how it happened, end of the life, he landed up on a bow of arrows because he was on the wrong side of Dharma. But at the same time in Ramayana, we see that Jatayu was actually fought with Ravana, but at the same time, towards the end of the life, Jatayu landed up in the arms of Lord Ram, because she literally fought for Lord Ram. So if you're on the right side of Dharma, you land up finally towards the end of your life, you will land up like Jatayu in the hands of Lord Ram. And if you're on the wrong side of Dharma, you will land up someone like Bhishma, who was on a bow of arrows. And of course, Krishna gave him a beautiful darshan as well at the end, because at the end of the day, even though he was on the wrong side of Dharma, he was actually still a devotee of Krishna. And very interestingly, when Krishna asked to Bhishma to recite the Vishnu Sahasranama, he waited till the entire bad blood, because Bhishma was eating the food that he was living on the kind of a food that was offered by Duryodhana, right? Because he was totally dependent on Duryodhana, because Duryodhana was one who was actually maintaining Bhishma Pitamaha and all the things. Because of that, because the food that he ate was because of Duryodhana. So Krishna waited till all the blood, everything was completely, and finally when all the blood went away from the body on the bow of the bed of arrows, and finally once everything is done, then Krishna tells Bhishma Pitamaha, I want you to tell the Vishnu Sahasranam. Then Bhishma was most gladly, he recited these 1,000 names of Krishna in front of Krishna. He recited these 1,000 names. Once he was completely, his blood, all the contamination, all the bad, everything was completely gone from his body. Then he was purified, and he said, okay, now I'm going to just speak this entire Vishnu Sahasranam. So that's another beautiful tale which goes to show about Krishna and how Krishna is engaging in that. So that is one thing. So they go into the forest, and then they go to the Yamuna, they get Kalindi, and Kalindi now gets married to Krishna, and Krishna takes her to Hastinapur. And in the meanwhile, Krishna engaged in another pastime. So offering Kandava forest, there is a forest called Kandava forest which belonged to King Indra. As we all know the story of Indra, he's very much linked to the Govardhan Leela, where Indra was so kind of like angry that he lashed out rains at the Vrindavan, people of Vrindavan, and we see how Krishna just lifted with his little finger to show Indra his place, that you're not the controller, I'm the controller. So Krishna wanted to give this forest to Agni, the fire god, So this particular Kandava forest belonged to Indra, but Krishna wanted to give this forest to Agni, the fire god. Why? So the Kandava forest contained many varieties of drugs, and Agni required it to eat them for rejuvenation. So you can see that this Agni, the Agni Deva, who's Agni, fire personified, even he needs to, in order for his sustenance, he needs to require to eat them for rejuvenation. So Agni did not touch the Kandava forest directly, but requested Krishna to help him, because he asked Krishna, Krishna, can you please help me? Because I need to have this Kandava forest. So Agni knew that Krishna was very much pleased with him, and it's very interesting through this Leela that we also get to know that Krishna Sudarshana Chakra was actually gifted by the sun god, by Agni, sorry, by Agni, and he's given him the Sudarshana. And in order to satisfy Agni, Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna, and both went to the Kandava forest. So there's a reciprocation here. Of course, like even though in the Leelas we say it is Surya Dev or Agni Dev has given the Sudarshana Chakra, but still again, Krishna is the source of everything, right? Because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, right? That whatever Devatas gave, whatever everything, he's the source from where everything is coming through. So even if the Devatas, they give certain things, they're part of the Leela, we have to understand it as Leela. But eventually everything comes from Krishna. So in order to satisfy Agni, Krishna becomes the chariot driver. It's a reciprocal thing. Because he gave the Sudarshan Chakra, Krishna is reciprocating by becoming the chariot driver of Arjuna and both. So after Agni had eaten up this Kandava forest, which belonged to Indra, he was very much pleased. And at that time, Agni, the Agni Dev, the deity personified, he offered Arjuna a special bowl called Gandiva. So it's very interesting to know. Quite popular thing, isn't it? Because in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, we seen where Arjuna says, even his Gandiva has slipped because Arjuna was in depression. He was in tears in the beginning of the thing. And we seen the picture when even the Gandiva is actually was down. And later, after Krishna spoke the whole of Bhagavad Gita, then he put up his Gandiva and then he went and fought the war. So that's this. So this Gandhi was actually was given by the Agni Dev, and he gave 4 white horses, 1 chariot, and an invisible quail with 2 special arrows considered to be talisman, which had so much of power that no warrior could counteract them. So throughout this entire, it's very interesting to see, throughout the Pandavas, even though they were in exile, did so many things were happened and all that. But in the meanwhile, they were collecting a lot of benedictions like this, like Agni had given him these special arrows and all these things. So all these things were this is the thing, right? When you are going through a difficult time, there's so many things that we learn in the process, right? So that's what happened to the Pandavas. They were going through a hard time. They were going through a lot of purification. They were going through a lot of challenges with the Kauravas. But during this time, they have prepared themselves very well. So Arjuna also, even though, why Arjuna was such a great warrior was something he was always constantly practicing his skills so much for preparing for the war, right? So that's why he's called as Savyasachi, because he could fight with both the hands. He could throw the arrows with his right hand as well as left hand as well. So that's how skillful Arjuna was. And now we see that during this entire phase till the time of Mahabharata, Kurukshetra, the Pandavas were blessed with so many beautiful things like this, like Agni Dev giving this beautiful chariot and Gandiva and all these special arrows and all that. So when the Gandhava forest was being devoured by the fire god Agni, there was a demon by name Maya was saved by Arjuna from the devastation. So obviously, when Agni was kind of consuming this entire forest called Gandhava forest, obviously one demon over there was actually saved by Arjuna. And for this reason, the demon, because Arjuna has saved this demon, in order to reciprocate, the demon actually constructed a nice assembly house for the Pandavas, which was within the city, because Vishwakarma has created the city for the Pandavas, and within the city, now the demon has constructed a nice assembly hall. Obviously, demon means her architecture seems to be a totally different thing, because this assembly house which the demon has constructed had some corners so puzzling that when Duryodhana came to visit this house, he was misdirected, accepting water as land and land for water. So it was very the demon constructed such a kind of assembly house in the city of Vishwakarma that when Duryodhana came, he mistook for water. He thought it's water and it happened to be the land, and land happened to be looking like water. So in the process, he lands up putting his leg in the water, thinking it's land. And in the process, I think Duryodhana was thus insulted by the opulence of the Pandavas, and then he became the determined enemy. So, I mean, in the movies, I don't know how much it's true or whether it's really there because it's not mentioned over here. It's just mentioned that they were insulted by the opulence of Pandavas. But I've seen somewhere saying like, Draupadi laughs at him when she sees that Duryodhana was like, he accidentally put his leg in the water thinking it's land, and she laughs at that and he felt very insulted. And but for whatever it is, it's not clearly mentioned, or it's not mentioned that he's just mentioned that insulted by the opulence of the Pandavas. So maybe it could be the thing. So from then, because this is the thing, right? People, when they have false ego and they have so much of because false ego is so fragile, isn't it? Like anybody, even if it's a small person, if you really scratch his ego, his false ego, he becomes like a monster. So ego is something which is very, very fragile, and once you touch it, and that's it. People will repel like anything. So here we can see Duryodhana. He felt so insulted that because he stepped into the water thinking it's land, and because they laughed at it, he felt so insulted that he thought like, I'll put an end to these Pandavas. He was so determined. And after a few days, Lord Krishna took permission. Now, this is one small part of the Leela. And of course, like all the dots add together, like when you see that why the Kauravas were so much, they were not ready to give in even any small piece of land, the size of even a needle, they were not ready to give to Pandavas. Why? Because they were so angry, and they were so because of all these events that have happened. Duryodhana was felt very insulted, and he was very determined that I'm going to teach these people a lesson. He was very, very angry, and he was very determined to think of Pandavas as his enemy, right? So these are the leelas. All these things are adding up out there. And today, very interestingly, today I was there in Manor, and I was just thinking about it. When I seen the whole Manor temple room packed with devotees, and it just came to my mind. I was thinking how Krishna is reciprocating, right? When he wants to put it, he says, Paritranaya sadhuna vinasaya cha duskritam dharma samstapanardaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he says, I come to put an end to all the demonic people and also for the love of his devotees. So when he wants to put an end to all these demoniac people, he'll assemble all of them on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and in one shot he wipes them out completely. All the people, everybody were wiped out on this battlefield of Kurukshetra. So that is Krishna's reciprocating for the demoniac people. He puts everybody in a wholesale and wipes them out in one go. And at the same time, like for devotees, may have devotees from different places. But again, devotees, he assembles all of them in a beautiful place called like a mandir. And then he kind of like engages in a nice seeing his all his devotees together. So on one side, with the demonic people, he assembles them on the battlefield and he kills them, annihilates them. But for his devotees, he assembles them so nicely in the temple room. And I was just thinking about today when I seen all the devotees, I was thinking how Krishna assembled all the people, because one person said, well, we just come back from another country. One person said, we are living somewhere in some other place, and somebody said that. So people from different devotees from different parts of the country, they all assemble together. And I was thinking how Krishna shows his love also for his devotees, that he assembles everyone together. And many people miss the point, but Krishna says this is what his devotees do. Matchitta madgata pranam bodhayante parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti ramanti cha. That my devotees, they derive great satisfaction and bliss by always enlightening about me. So when we go to the Krishna Mandir, this is what Krishna is expecting of his devotees, that they discuss about Krishna, they discuss the Leelas of Krishna, they talk about Krishna, they chant about Krishna, they do Sankirtan together with Krishna in this way. So having said that, so I was just thinking in my mind today when I seen all the devotees together, like how Krishna assembles all his devotees together, just like he assembled all the enemies together. So here, after this is over, so Duryodhana gets insulted, and so now that is one shot. So it's just like, in a movie, they show like one shot taken out there and another, they switch over to another shot. So now, after a few days, Lord Krishna took permission from King Yudhishthira to return to Dwarka. And when, because he's staying in Hastinapur is the place, Delhi is New Delhi now. And that's the place where the Pandavas used to reside. And when he got the permission, he returned to his country accompanied by Satyaki, the leader of the Yadus who were living in Hastinapur with him. Kalindi also returned. Who's Kalindi? Who's Yamuna personified, and that lady who wanted to marry Krishna. Kalindi also returned with Krishna to Dwarka. After returning, Krishna consulted many learned astrologers to find the suitable moment at which to marry Kalindi. And then he married her with great pomp. So you see, like, even though everything, Krishna is above astrology and everything, right? even then, when Krishna took this form, among the Pandavas and among on the planet, he just led his life like any other person would be doing at that, according to the Vedic culture. So he still consulted the astrologers and watched for the right moment, auspicious moment, and married her with great pomp. So this marriage ceremony gave great pleasure to the relatives on both the sides, and all of them enjoyed the great occasion. So we can see how much of joy it must have been for people. So, and the king of Avantipur, which is now is Ujjain. It's so interesting, isn't it? All these places are still there. Everything is still there. Avanti, Dwarka is there. Ujjain is there, and some of the places which are in Madhya Pradesh, like all of these are still there. So the kings of Avantipur called Vindhya and Vindhya. Both these kings were under the control of Duryodhana. And they had one sister named Mitravinda, who was very qualified, learned, and elegant girl, the daughter of one of Krishna's aunts. So this is what it is. So this is another small Leela again, another part of it. So they're all bits and pieces going on. So this is about the kings of Avantipura who are actually under the control of Duryodhana. Because again, Duryodhana and Kauravas, they were all ruling at that point of time, isn't it? So we can see that the king of Avantipur, they had a sister called Mitravinda, and that also happened to be the daughter of Krishna's aunt, and she was to select a husband. Because in those days, it used to be Swayamvaram, right? I mean, the girl had a choice where she could just, all the princes are lined up and she could choose whom she wants to get married among the lot. And sometimes there could be some nice tests going on where the princess had to show the valor and prove themselves that they're fit to marry the girl. So there were like so many things. There was a different process that was followed in the Vedic culture at that time. And she was to select her husband in the assembly of princes, but she strongly desired to have Krishna as her husband. So you can see at that point of time, Krishna is so immensely beautiful that every girl at that point of time, they just wanted Krishna as their husband. So we can see that even here, this girl, Mitravinda, she wants Krishna as her husband. And during this assembly, Krishna was present. And he forcibly carried away Mitravinda in the presence of all other royal princes. So like I said, Krishna is always fully switched on, fully action. With Krishna Bhagavan is like so much of action and so much of nectar that you can see that even earlier also when Rukmini called him, he went on his chariot in front of all the princes. He just said, Rukmini, just get on the chariot, took in front of all of them. Of course, they chased him. And then again, Krishna sent his Yadava army and then literally wiped them out. And then Krishna himself got down and fought with, Rukmini as well, right? So similarly, you can see that here, Krishna also forcibly, he just came and took Mitravinda because it's for him, it's nothing. Like, anything is just like a child's play for Krishna. But being unable to resist Krishna, the princes were left simply looking at each other. This is the helplessness of the princes, right? When Krishna comes, nobody can do anything. And after this incident where Krishna takes Mitravinda, Krishna married the daughter of king of Koshala. So there's another thing. So we have already, we have the Yamuna personified, right? And now we have Mitravinda. And now we have Kalindi, Mitravinda, and now we have this another incident unfolding. After this incident, Krishna married the daughter of king of Koshala. The king of Koshala province was called as Nagnajit. He was very pious and will follow the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. His most beautiful daughter was named Satya. And sometimes Satya was called as Nagnajita, Nagnajiti, for she was the daughter of the king Nagnajit. And King Nagnajit wanted to give the hand of his daughter to any prince who could defeat 7 very strong, stalwart bulls maintained by him. So you said, like I was telling you, right? So there were like a lot of tests that were given for the princes to show their valor and to show how strong they were. So now here we find that a prince has to marry whoever wants to marry her, the daughter of the king of Koshala, Satya. They had to go and fight with these bulls. The 7 bulls were very strong and they could hardly bear even the smell of any prince. And many princes visited this kingdom and tried to subdue the bulls, but instead of controlling that, they themselves were defeated. Oh my God, you can imagine how the bulls were there. Like even the princes were not able to go and defeat the bulls. And if you all seen the recent movie Bahubali, right? In that they'll show you one bull there where the Baladev was, he was just fighting with the bull. Yeah, and maybe it must have been a bull like that, huge ones. We see even in Manor, isn't it? The bulls that you see in India and the bull that you see here in Manor they're like huge. They're huge. We never seen those kind of size. And you can know what to think about the times of Dwapara Yuga, how they were. Even though in those days the people were tall, everything was were tall, right? Animals, everything was like huge. Now they come down in size, as you know, in Kali Yuga, like everything is downsized. Our lives are downsized, our heights, everything is downsized. Our memory is downsized, everything. So the seven bulls were very strong, and thus this news spread over like all over the country. And Krishna heard that one could achieve that girl Satya only by defeating the seven bulls. He prepared himself to go to the kingdom of Koshala. With many soldiers, he approached that part of the country known as Ayodhya, making a regular state visit. So we can see that Krishna is like, again, he gets to know that there is a daughter of Nagnagiti, and so he goes over there, and now this is another, her name is Satya, by the way. And so here we can see that Krishna is going and ready, we're going to take on the challenge now. When it became known to the king of Koshala that Krishna had come to ask the hand of his daughter, he was very much pleased. So obviously, like in those days also, the king of Koshala, they would have heard about, they would know about Krishna, that he is a friend of the Pandavas, them, all of them, because even earlier also, when you seen that people, they knew about Krishna's leelas, how Krishna is, lifted the Govardhan hill, how Krishna protected the people of Vrindavan. So everybody would know, right? Word of mouth would go there. So now the king of Koshala, also Nagnajiti, was very happy that Krishna actually is coming out there, and with great respect and pomp, he welcomed Krishna to the kingdom. If you don't like that person is a different story, but because when he heard so much about Krishna, so he was very happy. So he gave a nice reception, and when Krishna approached him, he offered the Lord a nice place and articles and things like that. So now Krishna also offered him respectful obeisances, thinking him to be the future father-in-law. So you can see like all when Krishna was there, everything was happening. Like, all these leelas were so nicely unfolding, like, how people are reciprocating and how he's going and approaching them. So when Satya understood that Krishna himself had come to marry her, she was very pleased that the husband of the goddess of fortune has so kindly come there to accept her. And for a long time, she has cherished the idea of marrying Krishna and was following the principles of austerities to obtain her desired husband. She began to think, if I have performed any pious activities to the best of my ability, and if I sincerely thought all along to have Krishna as my husband, then Krishna will be pleased to fulfill my long cherished desire. So we can see that, right? Even today they have that ritual, isn't it? When women were like, when they want to get married, and so they consult some astrologer or some pandit, and they will say like, you have to do this. If you want to get a good husband, then Katyayani puja, or you can do all these kind of puja, like how the Gopikas, they were doing puja, isn't it? Durga puja and Katyayani puja, like that. So that in those days, doing austerities for getting a good husband, that was a practice. And what we are for doing happening now in this Kali Yuga is also just coming from the Vedic culture from that time. And so she was very happy, and she was thinking like, whatever pious activities I would have done, this is what her desire is, to marry Krishna. And she began to offer prayers to Krishna mentally, thinking, I do not know the Supreme Personality Godhead can be pleased with me. He is the master and the Lord of everyone. Even the goddess of fortune, whose place is next to the Supreme Lord, and Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and other demigods of different planets are always offering the obeisances unto the Lord. The Lord also sometimes descends to this planet in different incarnations to fulfill the desire of his devotees. He is so exalted and great that I do not know how to satisfy him. She thought that the Supreme Lord Krishna could be pleased only by out of his own causeless mercy upon the devotee. Otherwise, there's no means to please him. Lord Chaitanya in the same way prayed in his Sistashika verses, my dear Lord, I'm your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I've fallen into this material existence. If you kindly pick me up and fix me as an atom of dust at your lotus feet, it will be a great favor to your eternal servant. The Lord then be pleased only by the humble attitude in the service spirit. The more we render service to the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master, the more we make advancement on the path of approaching the Lord. We cannot demand any grace or mercy from the Lord because of our service rendered to him. He may accept or not accept our service, but the only means to satisfy the Lord is through our service attitude and nothing else. So we can see, like, through the Krishna Katha, we can get to know the mood of the devotees, right? This person, Satya, he's thinking about Krishna, that he is the Supreme Lord, and kind of a knowledge that she has, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he's kind of like even the great demigod, like even they're offering the obeisances, like Brahma and Shiva. And of course, we know the very famous prayer of Brahma Samhita, right? Govinda Madi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami. So even the Brahma is also offering his prayers. In fact, when I was there with my friends, once I was, they just all assembled together and I just started praying this Govindamadi Purisham. And they were like so happy to hear. They said like, one of the friend's wife, she said like, this prayer sounds so beautiful. I feel like listening to it. And very interestingly, I should tell you about this Brahma Samhita. Once when they were interviewing Ambarish Prabhu, who's actually the Ford, Henry Ford, right? Alfred Ford. So when they were interviewing him and they asked him like, how did you afford your ancestors of the Ford, from the Ford family, how did you come to Krishna consciousness? And then I was watching that interview where he said that once he happened to listen to Govinda Madhipurusha song, the Brahma Samhita, from the Brahma Samhita, and that attracted him so much that he really decided that no, I want to just follow Krishna consciousness. And that's how he got into Krishna consciousness. What attracted him, because there will be a turning point, isn't it, for everyone? Like, sometimes when they read a book called, The Perfection of Yoga or Chant and Be Happy, different people, different experiences have some turning point when they say, like, when you ask them, like, how did you come to Krishna consciousness? They say, like, I read this book and I came. So, like that, Alfred Ford here, he was telling that he came to Krishna consciousness because when he heard about these beautiful prayers of Brahma to Krishna, so like that, devotees, a lot of people, devotees, if you interview and you see, they come to sing because due to various reasons, actually, like this, like, they must have heard some nice kirtan, or must have read some nice beautiful dealers of Krishna or Krishna Katha or things like that, or they may have a friend, actually a devotee friend, who has brought them closer. So here, so we can see that that's the mood, actually, that's the mood of the devotees. So here, even Satya is just praying that even though, so she knows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. She knows that he's being offered obeisances even by Lord Shiva and Brahma. And she knows that sometimes that Krishna comes in different avatars, as he came as Narasimha avatar and Lord Ram avatar as well. And so here she's saying, like, so she thought that the only way that Krishna could be pleased is out of his causeless mercy, because there is nothing like for Krishna that he has, because somebody has done this, so he has to reciprocate, because Krishna is being served by the goddesses of fortune and he's already giving us everything. There's no need for him to reciprocate and take his interest, but out of his causeless mercy, that he can show that love towards his devotee. For example, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachat. He says, if you offer me flower, fruit, leaf, or water, I will happily accept it. But the same Bhagwan is being served by the goddesses of fortune with the best of the best dishes. So why will he come and accept our own fruit, some small fruit that we are offering at home? It's because Krishna has that love towards his devotees, that even though he is the Supreme Lord, he gets pleased. That Supreme Lord, if you want to please some very rich person, like if Ambani is calling us to his house, imagine what can you do to please that guy, because he has everything. But here, behind the Supreme Lord of Devadi Deva, the God of all the gods, Supreme Lord, he's so kind to his devotees that he says that you give me one flower or fruit, I'll be happy, more than happy, very satisfied. So this is what Krishna's love for his devotees, and this is the devotee's love for Krishna. So here we see that Krishna is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and Krishna came in the form of a devotee. Krishna is so kind that two things happen in Kali Yuga. Kalikale Namarupa Krishna Kalikale Namarupa Krishna Avatar, which means Krishna came in Kali Yuga in the form of Namarupa, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra Rupa. And second beautiful thing that came is Krishna came in the form of a devotee called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to show us how to engage in devotion towards Krishna. What should be the mood of our prayer? That the mood of the prayer should be, I'm your eternal servant, that I have fallen into this material world, because we are all originally from Vaikuntha, we are all originally from Krishna Loka. Krishna says, right, Mamai Vamsa Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Mana Shastra Nindriyani, Prakriti Stani Karshit. All of you are my eternal fragmental parts. But because you have fallen into this conditioned world, because you've fallen into this conditioned world, you're struggling very hard because you don't belong to this place, but you have fallen into here. So this is the mood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I'm your eternal servant and I've fallen into this material existence. Now please kindly pick me up and fix me at the dust of the lotus feet. And this is the mood of the devotee, that everybody wanted to be just the dust in the place called Vrindavan. And it will be a great favor to your eternal servant. The Lord can be pleased by the humble attitude. So the most important thing that attracts Krishna Prema is humbleness, humility, right? Krishna in Bhagavad Gita gives 36 beautiful qualities which make him very dear to Krishna. So if you want to become very dear to Krishna, Krishna gives a list of all the beautiful qualities that he likes in his devotees. Advesta sarva bhutana maitra karuna evacha nirmamo nirahankara samadukka sukashami santusta satatam yogi yatatma dhrida nishchayaha mayaripito mano buddhi mami vaisasi asamsayaha. That's a beautiful list that Krishna gives in chapter number 12, Bhakti Yoga, verse number 13, where Krishna says, Advesta sarva bhutanam, someone who's not envious, but is a kind friend for all the living entities, one who thinks that he is not the proprietor, Krishna is the proprietor, one who's out of false ego, who's not having any false ego, someone who's very satisfied, someone who's very tolerant, someone who's very self-controlled, like Prahalad Maharaj, someone who's engaged, Riddhanikshchayaha, someone who's very determined in bhakti, that I have to chant every day so many rounds. So such kind of a devotee, Krishna says, such kind of a quality, devotee with those qualities are very, very dear to me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So 2025, today I was telling in the manner that this should be our mood, that these are the qualities that Krishna likes. So we should pin it up and we have to look forward that these are the qualities I have to nurture in order to become closer to Krishna. So all these beautiful qualities of humbleness, trying to be free from false ego, because ego itself means edging God out. So we have to have that humility. And the more we render service to Krishna, so Prabhupada has given us 360-degree worship. When you're in the mandir, you do deity worship. When you're outside the mandir, you do mantra meditation, and you can do nama japa everywhere. When you go out, Krishna also showed how to see Krishna everywhere. We see the splendor of Krishna. We can see that it is Krishna. If you see water, you know that it's Krishna, like that. Prabhupada has given us, and he's given us books, everything. So here what we have to do is we have to render service to Krishna according to the instructions of a spiritual master. So when we are sincere in devotion, Krishna gives us a guru, and the guru gives us all the knowledge, which will take us back to Krishna. So this is Krishna's mercy. And the more we do this, and we will be able to advance in getting closer towards Krishna by following all the instructions of a spiritual master. So we cannot demand anything from Krishna. But the beauty thing is, when you become so much of a pure devotee of Krishna, Krishna becomes so much obliged that you see in all this beautiful mood of Vittala, Panduranga Vittala. What is the posture of Krishna in Panduranga Vittala? Krishna is standing on a brick with both his hands on his hips, waiting for his devotee, because his devotee, Pundalik, I think he gives a brick and asks Krishna to stand on the brick because he's serving his parents. And Krishna says, okay, because he loves this devotee so much. He said, okay, you want me to stand on the brick? I will stand on the brick and I'll wait for you. You go and serve your parents and come and then serve me. So this is the mood of Krishna. When you become a pure devotee of Krishna, Krishna wants to serve you. He's ready to wait. He's ready to wait till you do your service to your parents. So that is the beauty of Krishna Leela. Like when you see all these Krishna Ketas, what do you get? People ask. What we get is we get Krishna Prema when we see such loving devotees. So this is the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. We cannot demand any grace or mercy from the Lord just because we did some service. He may accept our service. This is the mood. Krishna, whether you want to stamp on me, whether you want to criticize me, whether you want to, put me in darkness, whatever you do, Krishna, you can have every liberty to do whatever you want with my life, Krishna. But for me, Krishna, I don't have any other option but your lotus feet. This is the mood of the devotee. This is the mood of the Vaishnava. That you put me in heaven or hell, I only want to serve you. That is the only thing that Krishna's devotees want. And he may accept our service and may not accept our service, but our means is only trying our best to serve the Lord through service attitude. That is why Prabhupada did not say devotion. Prabhupada said devotional service. And I found that so amazing because Prabhupada has made it very clear, just a small word between devotion and devotional service. You serve Krishna. And that is how you get closer to the devotees of Krishna. And that is how you approach Krishna with utter humility. So I just wanted to stop over here. There is a bit of this thing that he has to go. So we are just talking about how Satya is now very happy. And Krishna, even the Nagnajit, he is also very happy that Krishna has come there because there can't be anything more beautiful than for a king to know that his daughter is going to get married to Supreme Lord Krishna, right? That is the most beautiful thing that anybody can expect. So King Nagnajit was very, very, very happy that Krishna is coming. So he was a very pious king. And that's also the thing is, right? Ancient times, even the kings also were very saintly kings, even though they had the best of the opulences and everything. Towards that, they were literally followed the Varnashrama Dharma, which means that after a certain time, they would leave away the kingdom, everything, and they go into the forest and meditate. How many people would do that these days, right? People have become so power hungry that even at the age of 80 years, the politicians in India, they just want hanging on to their power because they just don't want to, because they are so much consumed by this opulences that they just want to just stick on to this power and everything. But here we find even kings like Nagnajit was a pretty pious king and having Krishna in his place, because Krishna goes to his palace, right? And he begins to worship him to the best of his knowledge and ability. So this is the approach, this is the mood of the saintly kings, that when they have someone like Krishna in this thing, they worship them and then present before him the Lord. And then now Nagnajit is saying also, my dear Lord, you are the proprietor of the whole cosmic manifestation. Bhoktaram yajana tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. You are the Narayana, the resting place of all the living creatures. You are self-sufficient. You are Atmarama and pleased with your personal appearances. So how can I offer you anything? This is the mood of the devotee. Where we say, Krishna, what can I offer you, Krishna? You are being served by the goddesses of fortune, but please, today I'm offering you some oranges. Please, today I'm offering you some apple. Please, kindly accept this. So here you can see the king Nagnajit had that humility. He was saying, how could I please you with such an offering? Because you're already self-sufficient, pleased by your personal opulences. It is not possible because I'm very insignificant living being. Actually, I have no ability to render any service unto you. This is the beautiful mood, even the beautiful mood of a devotee. It's almost like he's like a loving devotee, a saintly king with all the mood of humility towards Krishna. So yeah, I just want to stop over here and we will just continue there. But we covered three of the queens that Krishna is, so far has married. Now we will see like in future also like two more, because he says five the queens that Krishna marries. So we will cover some more leelas in the next chapter. But I'll just leave the floor open for any realizations, any comments, anything at all. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Ramnath Prabhuji.
Haribo. Yeah. Still such an amazing storyline, and your description, of course, is going into quite depth. Just one of the last points you're pointing out, I liked how you're describing, devotion is devotional service. That's how bhakti, the description of bhakti yoga is not simply devotion, but devotional service. And we see how so many people come to Krishna's temple, whether it's like the Manor or the Soho temple. So many people are coming, and they come for darshan, they come to chant, they come to maybe give a donation, have prasadam, and then they go. So the idea is, if they really get an understanding of what bhakti yoga is, then they have to do some service. They have to get involved in some level of service. So both the Manor and the Soho Temple, they have a nice program of volunteers where people come and they can volunteer. I want to do this. I want to do this. And as they then start volunteering themselves, that's when the real purification happens. Not simply coming in a ritualistic way, come for darshan, come for prasadam, chant a little bit and then go away. But to actually get involved in serving Srila Prabhupada, serving Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, and associating with the devotees, that's what pulls people in more and more. So it's that not just devotion, but devotional service. Unless that service mood is developing, then real Krishna consciousness remains elusive. I mean, people remain basically on a Kanishta level. So, and that's okay. We need Kanishtas, but it's our duty somehow or other to engage them in more and more service. And by doing that, then gradually, then they come to understand all the other aspects of the importance of sadhana bhakti, and they get more and more attracted to what the actual practices of devotional service are all about, or bhakti yoga. But it starts with actually coming into that definition as Prabhupada has given, and as you pointed out, it's not just devotion, but it's devotional service.
Yes, Prabhuji. I found that very, very impactful. I mean, when we just thinking about it, felt like it was such a strong message that when you, as you keep serving, and it makes sense actually, because if in the material world, we are also serving everybody. And if you want to know someone, only when we serve, you get to know the person. So even only in the mode of service, we can get to know more, because in bhakti life, everything is, the realization comes. It's not like we can't read
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita like a grammar book or like a maths book. Krishna reveals himself. That is the whole
Krishna reveals himself, exactly. And
reveals.
that's where devotional service then becomes to the point of its pure devotional service, where there's that intimate relationship between the devotee and Krishna, becomes purified, purified, purified to the understanding of, well, ultimately Madhyamadika, Uttamadika, but pure devotional service, where it's an ongoing process of deepening exchange of devotional love, reciprocal love. It's not simply one-sided; it's reciprocal. It's not like ISKCON needs some volunteer slaves, and we need to engage people as slaves. No, as they do that, then they'll have to be practicing chanting, of course, but they'll get Krishna's reciprocation in many ways, specifically through the chanting. They'll feel Krishna's reciprocation.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji. That's what.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Jagannath.
Sorry I'm late, but
No problem.
I'm intrigued. Thank you. But I'm just wondering about what mood you approach Krishna with, because what sort of things would you approach Krishna with? Because every class I listen to about this subject, I hear different messages and I'm a little confused, because often you're told, surrender unto Krishna, tell him all your troubles, and I feel embarrassed to tell Krishna my troubles. I feel embarrassed to approach him with all these trivials. So I'm not sure. I mean, also, and I think the best way that I manage that is to actually ask for forgiveness for my sins every day. You perform little sinful act and ask him to help you to on the path for purification, because and I think I could see that every day, little bit every day there's an improvement in that way of. So I do believe in Krishna, and I do know that he is for us, and he's doing something every day to make, in a mystical way, he improves your lives. But it's sometimes I feel I'm not doing the right thing, and how do I fulfill that need? What kind of mood do I go with? I know that you have to be sincere. That's sometimes very hard to do. But um how does sincerity show itself? For instance, it's we are rushed in the material world, and like this morning I wasn't able to do the full um service that I normally do every morning, and I feel guilty. I try to make up when I come back, but it's not the same. But I think asking for forgiveness, how much can you ask for forgiveness? Like the chapter in the Nectar instruction says, once you steal and you go and ask for forgiveness, as soon as you finish, you go back and steal again. So it's the kind of we get caught up and then get entangled, and at the same time you're not sure if you are doing the right thing. I know it sounds confusing, doesn't it? I am confused.
This is the platform to share, Mataji. We're all with you on that. Yeah, thanks for expressing yourself. So would you suggest something?
Well, I mean, yeah, confusion is going to be there. It's okay. I mean, what I admire is your truthfulness to admit that you're confused. Most devotees don't want to even think like that, or what to say, admit it in front of other devotees that there's some confusion. But by simply associating with the devotees, reading Prabhupada's books, gradually, the confusion, the veil of Maya becomes lifted as As Maya becomes lifted, we become more under the influence of the internal protective, compassionate mercy of Yoga Maya, which ultimately is coming from Radharani. So we worship Krishna, but we worship Radha and Krishna. And that's a big topic, of course. But as we surrender more and more, ultimately we'll be feeling not simply Krishna's protection, but we feel the embrace of Radharani in helping us in a very compassionate way, lifting the veil of Maya, lifting that confusion, um, just by associating with the devotees, just by reading Prabhupada's books, just by engaging in the practice month by month, year by year, and ultimately taking shelter of a spiritual master, getting initiated like that. It's a step-by-step process. You shouldn't expect things to happen overnight, but I'm just very happy to hear your level of sincerity and honesty.
Yes, yes, Mataji. And also, one thing I like really nice, like what Krishna, in Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, in many places he says, in Bhakti Yoga, he says, engage your mind, fix your mind completely on me. If you're not able to do this, Arjuna, then at least follow the regulations. Arjuna, if you're not able to follow the regulations, Arjuna, then just try to go and help some devotee, Arjuna. If you're not able to even do that, Arjuna, then kind of like forgo the results of your whatever work that you're doing. Don't be attached to the fruits of your action. So like that, Krishna knows that all of us are in a different state of consciousness. So he is not someone who's like a very hard, like strict father, like who says this is the only way, and if you don't do this, then you're going to be, I'm just going to put you in hell. So Krishna is so kind. He knows that all of us are in different states of consciousness. So he gives us different options. That if you're not able to do this, you can do this. At least if you're not able to do this, you can do that. So in this way, Krishna is kind of like giving us different options for us to understand and put a metrics around to see where am I and am I able to even do this. Krishna says if you're not able to directly follow the regulations, at least go and help some Krishna devotee. They need some help somewhere. At least if you do that, at least that way also you can please me. So Krishna is so kind like that. And not only that, Krishna goes on to say, Api chesu duracharo bhajate mam anyabhak sadhu eva cha mantavya samyag vyavasiti usta. Krishna says, even when you are a devotee of Krishna, Krishna says, even if you've done the most abominable kind of an action, like by mistake or by something, you've done something which is really a big blunder or something like that. Krishna says, even if you've done some biggest mistake or if you just didn't follow some regulations or whatever, Krishna says, because you are a devotee and you've been consistently following your devotional service to Krishna, Krishna says, in my mind, you are as good as a saint. So this is the mood of Krishna. Like, so Krishna is not like someone who's like kind of like, looking at your thing and saying like, okay, you didn't do this right, so I'm going to punish him. Because Krishna is so kind. He understands all of our situations. And he says that as long as you're a devotee and you're loving Krishna, even if by mistake or anything, if you do something also, Krishna says, I still consider you as good as a saint. So we should always have that in mind, not to feel guilty, but knowing that Krishna is there. Krishna understands our situation, because in some situations we may not be able to do service, and sometimes we are very good spot on. Because I know you, Janu Mataji, you do such wonderful service and you're helping in Bhagavati distribution, and you come and dance literally in the temple room and all that. So I've seen you, how much you are like so much engrossed in Krishna Prema. So there's no reason for you at all to even feel anything, because you're doing really the right things. And none of us are perfect. So it comes to another level to take perfection. But as we engage in because if we carry the guilt with that, we can't progress in our devotional life. We should use even the guilt also in a positive way, that, okay, next time I'm going to just do something else to please Krishna. So everything we should look at as an opportunity to please Krishna even more.
Yeah, and I find my own reasoning in a way that I am persevering and I'm still going on, and
That's what
I
matters.
still do the things. What makes me do it?
Yeah.
It must be some love of Krishna, love of the movement, love of the service. I do go and see people in care homes.
Yeah.
I also serve with devotees, take prasadam to them, the needy ones, things like that. In every spare time I find
That's
Mother-
wonderful service. I mean, service to
Yes.
the devotees, it may be that's maybe really part of your calling if you're serving people, devotees in care homes or taking prasadam, but it's service to the devotees, and that's actually is not menial thing at all. It's actually a very elevated concept that service to the devotee is even better than direct service to Krishna.
Yeah.
That's part
Yeah.
of our mood. That's part of our mood for developing pure devotional service. We serve the devotees.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, but I think it's healthy also to think, oh, I could do more. You know, I
Yes, of
make my
course.
own reasoning.
I
And
think devotees need to be honest and reflect what are their talents, what are their abilities, what has Krishna given them that they can use in Krishna's service. And that's going to be different for different devotees. Obviously, the practices of sadhana bhakti, that's more generic. Everyone has to apply themselves to the various practices. But on an individual level, if you can engage your abilities and talents that Krishna has given you in Krishna's service, then you'll feel very satisfied.
Yeah.
But you have to understand what it is. So I mean, just I don't know you personally, but just the idea that you like serving Krishna's devotees, that's a whole topic of devotee care and getting into caring for devotees, big topic, and it's a whole field of devotional service that can be even developed even further.
Yeah.
yeah, I do agree with you. It is something in it that makes me want to carry on and do it.
Yeah.
And also every moment I have spare, I find something to do in the temple. So it's not wasted in that sense.
Yeah.
But I was seeing a devotee very young, about half my age, and she was in a care home and she died recently after about a year, going to serve her, reading to her, singing to her, which gave her a lot of joy. And the way she died, because I was there to give offer Ganga Jal and Tulsi leaf and the dust of Vrindavan just before she died, was a joy for me that I saw her
Yes.
through a lovely period. But I feel empty now that she's gone, in a way that my service wasn't good enough. I do feel, well, I suppose I feel it's not enough, but maybe it's not a bad thing. I'm not sure. But I find another devotee I see afterwards. So I've been seeing in between, but I'm permanent with her now again. So it's not like, I don't believe, it's just that the fulfillment is not totally there yet. Maybe I'm too impatient.
Actually, I think you're in the right mood of where, we should always have that maybe I'm not doing. That's the mood of humility. That's the mood of thinking that I have not done enough, because because devotional services towards Krishna is infinite. We can do so more. It's like never ending, this thing in Mataji. And also what you're doing is you're so humble that you're just like, you're not even underestimating how much of wonderful service it is. Actually, you should actually be pleased with yourself, not feel guilt actually, because you're doing so much. We all can do our best, but
Yeah. And I see you as well, which is great inspiration. You're always there on weekends. And when there's a special function, you make the time, you do the things that are important, and you give so much joy to the devotees. That is so special too, Prabhu.
Thank
So, but it's not enough of us, I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, this, like I said, this, like, it's infinite. Krishna is infinite. The devotional service to Krishna is like, there's so much everybody can, do, but never feel guilty about it, because Krishna is not someone he's always so kind and loving. That's my experience. He's so kind and loving. He's not looking at our faults. Like I was giving you this example, Krishna is called as different names in Vishnu Sahasranama. One is called as Nimisha, Animisha. Nimisha means when devotee is making some mistake, he blinks his eyes so that he doesn't want to see the devotee making a mistake. And then Animisha is when he opens his eyes and looks at when a devotee is doing a small thing for him. So that is Krishna's quality. That's like, he's not looking at our mistakes. he's putting his eyes open like Lord Jagannath, that way he wants to see when devotees are doing even a little bit of service for him. So we should never feel that. And also I see the kind of joy that I see in you. Always you keep like joyfully dancing when you come into the temple. That itself shows how much Krishna loves you and how much of love you have for Krishna, Mataji. So definitely don't feel anything about it. You're doing the right things, and you should feel very happy actually that you're doing your seva for Krishna. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm unhappy, but there's always room for improvement, as I was saying.
There's always room for improvement. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's good. You have the right mood. But your mood is service to Krishna, service to the devotees. There's always room for improvement. That's perfect. It's nothing more.
That's
what can I say? Yeah.
And Prabhu, we have met, several times when you come to the temple, and
okay.
I've
your voice sounds familiar. I don't see your face here, so I don't.
Well, I have been coming to these groups a while, and that's how we met through these groups. But then I've not been able to come to the Thursday one.
Yeah.
So I had other priorities, but I squeezed it in a little today because we finished early in the other group.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for joining.
Anyway, very nice conversation. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Amoga Prabhuji, Navil Prabhu, Ashim Prabhu, Jagam Prabhu, anything you want to add?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, all beautiful conversations and questions and answers. Yeah, it is very pleasing to hear all this. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Very motivating to hear, to see how we can render service to Krishna, and still feel that we're still, it's not fulfilled.
Yeah, that's the mood of devotees. Yeah, Nara Prabhu. Thank you, Jagan Prabhu. I know you're leaving to India, but we wish you all the good luck. And I think next Thursday you're going to be around. I'm not sure. But, yeah. So yeah, thanks everyone. Thank you, Ashim Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shyam Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Can we all unmute and do Hari Bols to Shyam Prabhuji?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Thank you.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you so much for your association. I'm so pleased and so humble. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll meet again next Thursday, remaining part of the next step. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
What are you reading now, Prabhu? You finished the book?
Yeah, no, we haven't finished the whole book, Mataji. Like we are.
KrishnaBook.
Yeah, KrishnaBook. We're going on.
Okay, Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hari Bol.
Vanchakalpatarubhyasya kripasindhubhyayam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo Namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.